Around when I'm doing these things as well, so you have to forgive me if I start to wander, although I do have my parameters set. Thank you very much for the tech. You know a little bit about me, but I'd quite like to know a little bit about yourselves, and it will become clear as to the reason why when we get into the principles of Tibb. So who here, and this can be by a show of hands, considers themselves to be a night owl? Who likes to stay up in the evening? Go to bed late, eat late, watch dramas, all the rest of it. Some very shy people, but there's a lot of smiles, which tell me that these are my people, kind of, that I'm looking at.
We're all night owls.
Yes, I know. Alternatively, who would consider themselves to be a morning person? Interesting. Okay. So of those that are a morning person, can I ask, without you revealing too much about yourselves, if you don't mind, what sort of time do you get up? What is your morning? Yes?
Right. I don't want to declare this, but I think most majority, I do tahajjud, so I wake up early, in the early hours. I would read tahajjud, then pray fajr, and then I go back to bed for 4:30 because I work in Liverpool.
Okay.
And I need a bit of a nap, so my timetable's funny in the summer.
Yep.
But in the winters, I'll be up for about 4:30.
Yes. Okay. Okay, good. So the principles of Tibb are basically and essentially about working with nature, being in tune with the rhythms of nature. And sadly, for those of us that like to stay up late and eat late, in behaving in that manner, we're opening ourselves up to dis-ease, to illness. If we're eating too late in the day, then our digestion suffers, and then we don't sleep particularly well, and we're up later the next day, and it compounds these effects. So first of all, traditional medicine. I'm thinking some of you probably know a little bit about what traditional medicine is, but it looks at the health and well-being of somebody holistically. Does anybody know what the word holistic means? Anybody?
As a whole?
Yes, purely and simply. Spiritually, mentally, emotionally, and physically. Let me just wipe my nose. Thank you. So Unani Tibb deals with all these aspects of health, treating the whole person. We're going to have a look at the 6 lifestyle factors which influence the physical mainly at this point. So let me get my pens. We do like to have a drawer. Who here prefers winter time? Okay. A few. Who prefers summer? Who's enjoying the weather today? The majority of people. Okay. So when we're looking at holistic health, we have to break it down and look at the person, what's going on in their body. And if we imagine, and this is how I explain it to patients sometimes, that essentially, and it's a bit grim perhaps, we are a bag of skin, and everything that happens inside of us, the fluids, the electrical impulses, the tissues, all these things have to be in balance. And what is around us and what we put in ourselves affects these things. So, we need to consider the properties hot and cold, and moist and dry. So those of us on a hot summer's day will understand it's it's common sense, and this is one of the things I love about Unani Tibb, is that the more you learn, the more it feels like you've known these things forever. It is common sense, and everything clicks into place. So in hot weather, we drink more because we're losing moisture. We need to retain that balance. I'm going to add some more. This pen's not great. Can you see this at the back, people? Anybody? Let me try a different one. I'll keep that one out. There we go. So the lady that likes to get up early, this kind of window. We call this the spring of the day. It's here, sorry, wrong one. From 3 a.m. to 9 a.m, the spring of the day. This is when the birds are singing, when the sun's rising, when Fajr is prayed, and we should have most energy. So those people that are staying up late aren't going to necessarily experience this time of day. They're going to want to have a lie-in. So just remind me, who are the night owls? And do you struggle with this time of day? Yeah. This is also when the digestion starts to kick in. Let's just go around here. When we're looking in terms of the 6 lifestyle factors, could do with a bigger board, but never mind. One of them is retention and elimination. This is the time when the digestion kicks in and when our bowels should naturally feel inclined to open. This is when we go to the bathroom. If we're feeling drowsy at this time or we're still sleeping, obviously that's not going to happen and it knocks everything back. We've got this continuous sort of knock-on effect, this cycle. Okay, so the next stage of the day is the summer of the day. When the digestion is strongest, everything's should be ticking over nicely. Sorry, can you see the board there? And then we get towards the autumn of the day when things start to calm down again and start to rest. If we're eating at this time of day, when the system's starting to start to feel drowsy, start to feel less energised, we're actually overloading the system. And when I'm explaining it to patients, I do it in I compare the digestion, the liver, as to a sort of campfire. Has anybody worked with open fires and campfires? So to start a campfire, you start with paper or smaller materials and then kindling and then logs. If that campfire is dwindling and you throw a big log on there, what would happen? Sorry? It would go out. And it's the same with your digestion as well. So those of us that like to eat a big meal towards the end of the day, if you're eating that big meal on a digestion that's getting ready to sleep, just like the rest of the body, it's going to struggle. So some of you will have experienced the next sensation after having a big meal at the end of the day. And what do some of us reach for after a big meal? What is the go-to? Yeah. So have you noticed all the dessert shops that have sprung up? So people seem to just skip the main meal entirely. Let's just go for some sugar. So yes, eating at that time of day in a big meal needs some kind of stimulant to get the digestion going again. So we're reaching either for sugar, coffee, and cigarettes. But ultimately, we're working against nature there. And we need to address that. So how do you think we can start to turn this around and start to live with nature and therefore improve our health? Sorry? Yes, potentially. But I think there's something that we could all do firstly. Just
Catch the spring of the day, wake up early, have your big meal at the
Okay.
start of the day. So you can
yes. So to wake up early, what could we do? Yeah. Shall we just try and go to bed a bit earlier? Shall we try not to watch the dramas? I mean, it's not. If we're getting up for Fajr, then it's not difficult, is it? One would imagine to just wake up and have a breakfast. Now there is this this saying, of course, that breakfast is the most important meal of the day. And I wouldn't argue that. But the timing doesn't necessarily have to be as soon as you wake up. It's just breaking the fast. And as the gentleman said over there with the intermittent fasting, sometimes you can leave that for a longer period and give your digestion a rest and your health a better sort of reset. But yes, if we went to bed a little bit earlier, each evening, sometimes when I'm treating people, I say, just go to bed 15 minutes earlier for the first week, and then maybe a little bit earlier. As long as, well, the rule of thumb that I say is within an hour after Maghrib, so not long after Isha. And then we're just nicely relaxed and off to sleep, ready to start the day in a positive way. So we're waking up in good time. We're perhaps having a breakfast then. But one of the things that I recommend to people as a next step to try and kickstart the health for that day is fresh air. And we've heard of the hierarchy of needs. But for me, that early morning fresh air, so a walk first thing in the morning to help stimulate the digestion. Again, it's all about the liver in a lot of ways, getting fresh air to every cell in the body, waking the whole being, getting the repair process going, the renewal processes going, awakening the circulation, mental stimulus, going for a nice walk in the morning. What do most people do first thing in the morning? Let's have some honest hands up. What do? Yes, check the phones. Who said that? Hi. Was that you checking your phone just then? Yeah, checking the phone. And actually, last thing at night, even when I say try and get to bed earlier, they say, yeah, I'll go to bed earlier. And then they just, like this, until their eyes are tired, and then they'll go to sleep. But just because the eyes are tired, perhaps dry, and they can't stare at it any longer, and then they go to sleep, doesn't mean that they're having good rest, because the brain is overstimulated. It will take some time for that to settle. So that's disruptive as well. So what I say to people is try and do without screens for an hour before bedtime, an hour before sleeping, and then you will get better rest. All these little things can help contribute to you living more in tune with nature and therefore being healthier, inshallah. Okay, we're getting the condensed version today because I'm on a shorter time limit, but there we go. These things happen. So one of the things that people ask when I'm doing these talks and workshops is about the Mizaj. Ooh, can you tell me what my Mizaj is? Who's heard the term Mizaj? Okay, what do you know about it?
I've done quite a lot of workshops knowing yourself on the temperaments.
Yes.
So that's your temperament, your
It's
primary
temperament.
temperament, and there's your secondary temperament.
Yes, yeah. Do you want to tell us what yours is? You don't need to.
My teacher said not to tell anyone.
Okay, all right, good.
That was the first rule.
Okay, well, you can all have a guess at mine whilst I'm stood up here. But yes, like I said before, when we're looking at holistic medicine, we're looking at the whole of the individual. And the difference between Unani Tibb and other traditional medicines, the difference between them and modern medicine is we're looking very much in detail at the individual. And the Mizaj is the temperament. It is how this person is made up of these elements of these are the humours. I'm just trying to think how best to... These are the English words, the Arabic, soda, safra, and bulgum. So this is blood, black bile, yellow bile, and phlegm. In humoral medicine, This is what the body is made up from. And the organs and tissues to varying degrees. So the misaj is you as an individual, collectively, what your balance is of these things. And the properties of these humours, so dum is hot and moist, that's your blood. Sauda is cold and dry. Safra is hot and dry, and bulgum is cold and moist, as indicated on the wheel of the day as well, and of the seasons of the year. I'm going to be giving some of these things out as well, because I realise this appears a little bit rushed because of the shortened time. So when we're looking at somebody's temperament, and that determines or helps determine whether somebody's a night owl or a morning person, we're looking at the combination of these things. So somebody can be termed as sanguine, which is predominantly blood-rich. So this can be red-faced, maybe outgoing, maybe cheerful, maybe heavy, all these things. And we have choleric, which is the Safra majority individual. Melancholic, Sauda. Anybody know the last one? Temperament lady?
Oh, sorry, which one did you do? Phlegmatic?
Yes. So somebody that's carrying too much moisture. Okay. So each of these people, these different types of people, will react differently in different circumstances or environments. So a sanguine person who is majoritarily hot and moist doesn't fare too well in a hotter environment. They will display symptoms of hot diseases, symptoms perhaps like eczema. Eczema is a hot disease. So if you have hot temperament, you go to a hot country, you could start to display a hot disease. It's too much. Let's throw it out. I can't stand this heat. Let's get rid of it. Similarly, a phlegmatic person who's carrying too much moisture would suffer more with perhaps colds, coughs, colds, flu in winter time, because there's lots of moisture around in the environment, there's too much moisture in them, it's got to come out. You can see the opposite with people that are too dry, because they enjoy the moisture around them. They might enjoy taking long baths, they're trying to absorb more moisture, trying to find that balance. Not necessarily consciously, because how many of us know these things? I mean, going through it now, does it start to feel like common sense? Even though perhaps a little bit messy on the board. But once we understand that it is common sense and realise that we are most of the time acting instinctively, without the conscious knowledge of this, we realise that our bodies are constantly striving, alhamdulillah, for balance, constantly striving for good health. Even when we are reaching for something which might be termed bad for us, we need to try and understand why we're reaching for that thing. So if we're reaching for coffee, why are we reaching for coffee? And on from there, every morning when we're doing our walk or we're enjoying the morning sun, it's good practice to just ask ourselves, what does my body need? Not, what do I fancy? Ooh, what's for breakfast? Ooh, what have I got in the cupboard? What do I need? And some days you will need something more than another day. You might think, oh, I'm thirsty. Don't go for the tea, by the way, because that dries the system. Just go for water. But what does my body need is one of the simplest questions to ask that will really help you. Of an evening, what does my body need? Does it need me to sit here scrolling, or does it need me to actually go to bed and prepare for the next day? Let me just see. Okay. I'll just use some tissue to wipe this, shall I? I don't think we've got a board rubber. It's okay.
Just there.
Jug of the wipes.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, yes. Thank you.
Okay.
Right, better with tissues. So let's just have a look at this for a second. Environmental influences. So we've talked about the weather. Can we think of any other environmental influences that would affect our physicality? This is one of the 6 lifestyle factors that influences our health all the time. 24 hours, the environment. And that's not just the climate and everything, that's everything around us. So being in this room now, let's say, what do you think is affecting your health, your temperament? Yeah. Lighting.
Temperature.
Yes. Heating. How many people live in a household where one person wants the heating turned up all the time and one person wants it turned down all the time? That's the difference in temperament, isn't it? One person wants spicy food, one person wants to put yogurt all over it. That's the difference in temperament. So, food and drink. Any favourite foods? Hands up who loves sugary foods. Okay. So apart from the obvious, of that not being great, sugar cools the system. Initially it will give you that kick, as we know, rushing around like throwing petrol on a fire, which is why we eat sugar after a meal. But secondary effects cools the system. Food and drink. Spices. Anything garam is going to do what? Garam, what does garam mean? Yes, it's going to heat the body, isn't it? So spices. Other things that heat the body that you might not recognise as being garam are differences in meats. Lamb, heating. Beef, cooling. Fish, cooling. Fish with spices, heating. These things all the time you need to consider. Okay, and the opposite of garam is? Yes. Tinder. So, Tinder foods, what do we think? Yes.
Milk.
Yeah.
Cucumbers.
Yes. Yes. Are these all the people that prefer spring that have got too much heat and thinking, yes, yoghurt, cucumber, watermelon?
Where do mangoes fit?
Heating. But then you've got mangoes, then you've got fresh mangoes, and then you've got mangoes in syrup, and then you've got dry mangoes. So,
It's interesting on mangoes.
yeah, of all those, fresh mango is the best, obviously, and the least. The others are more heaty, we get complicated. Okay. Durian. I don't know what durian. Oh, yes. Don't actually know. Come back to me on that one, you find out. In the workshop later, I do have foodstuffs and we'll be trying them, and I want people to tell me what their experience is from that.
What about chicken?
Chicken, interesting. So if it's organic chicken, heating. If it's not organic, cooling.
What about lime and lemon?
Lime and lemon, cooling. Which is an interesting point, thank you for bringing that one up. How many people have heard that if you squeeze fresh lime or lemon into water and have it first thing in the morning, you'll lose weight? So remember, we're going back to the individual health? No. Lime and lemon cooling to the system. And as we learned earlier with the digestion, what do we need for that to happen? It needs to be ticking over nicely, nice and warm. So in the morning, if you're getting up in the springtime of the day, between 3 and 9, And if your body's just warming up, ready to take on your digestive processes and everything else to get you through the day, if then you drink lime and lemon, or lime or lemon, in water in the morning, it's immediately going to suppress that. So we won't do that. We'll have just a glass of room temperature water, just to help things.
So what, honey and water?
Yes, that's all right.
Honey and water?
Honey and water. Oh no, that's fine. That will help stimulate you. Getting a little bit more complicated with that, we don't put honey in water that's too hot. Not into anything boiling. Don't cook with honey because it changes the values of the honey. It can be quite harmful after that.
Is it true, Mike Tyson said that if you put lemon with warm water and not boiling water, as you just said,
Yeah.
that kickstarts your digestive system?
Okay, I don't know. I've never met him. I've watched him fight, but I couldn't swear to what he said.
And what about cow's milk and goat's milk? Is there any difference?
Sorry, say that again.
Cow's milk and goat's
There is a difference, yes.
Is one better than the other?
So to say, is one better than the other, or to ask any question of that, you've got to say for what? Is it better for what? Is it better for this individual, or is it better for this individual? You've always got to start off with the individual person, their health history, their current condition and their temperament, and what they need. So in some ways can be, one can be better than the other. It really does depend on the individual's health and misage. Any other questions? We seem to be getting...
I have one question, sorry. When you're talking about the seasons of the day
Yes.
cycle, is it affected by our summer and winter sunlight time period?
It is, absolutely, yes.
So
Absolutely.
Would it shift a little bit then with the sun?
It would shorten, lengthen and shorten. So I think we've probably all heard of SAD, is it? Seasonal Adjustive Disorder. So let's turn that on its head. Are we having problems adjusting to the season? Or are we having problems forcing our body to continue at the same pace as work dictates and society dictates when nature wants us to just slow down and hibernate and just rest? What if autumn and winter was the time for resting and repairing and not just powering through? What if we were to rest and repair, ready to spring forward in spring, we would feel better? I have a mini campaign every year of trying to alter, the clock's changing. And I noticed this morning actually on the way here, I was thinking, oh no, it's nearly 21st of June already. So then things start to, shorten, the days shorten again. But all this is exacerbated by, in March, the clocks go forward. And everybody thinks, great, you're staying in bed another hour. Is it? Or lose an hour? And either way, your body takes that time to adjust. So you've got 3 months of your body adjusting to an artificial time influence there, and then you've got another 3 months there, and then things start to change again. It's no wonder that the body is constantly losing track of nature's natural rhythms. So I think we should start a petition on not changing the clocks. That would be one of the first things. That would help everybody's health. But yes, in answer to your question, as we come into winter and the days shorten, the springtime period of the day would shorten, and the summer. But the winter, the through the night period obviously lengthens, which suggests we should rest more. Yeah. Any others?
How do you work on your temperaments or the misage?
That's, yeah.
Are
There's
you
a number.
going to do that in the workshop, just to be clear, because I know people...
Yes, we are going to use some tools in there to work it out as well. If somebody comes, or when somebody comes to see me, I use a few ways. I speak to them, find out about their lifestyle, their likes and dislikes. Speaking to you on the phone, you can start to feel, the way towards where they are. When you see them, you start to recognise the physicalities of that person, so you can tell what temperament it is. But even when you've got sort of the natural primary misage, then you have to consider, well, they're here with an illness. So there's something else going on. So there's another layer as well. But to identify the primary massage, you're looking at people's face, the way people walk, the way people behave, you know, the way they live their lives. We can talk about it more in the workshop, inshallah.
Sounds like a consultation is required.
Okay, 10 minutes. Okay. Okay, so let's just go through the rest of the lifestyle factors. So we've got the food and drink, physical rest and activity. Sometimes I get people coming to see me and can't understand why they're not well, because they only have so many calories and they go to the gym and they do this and they do that and all the rest of it. The biggest adjustment in those cases is for people to accept that actually you're doing too much. You need to rest as well, or change the activity. And that activity, again, going back to the lady's query about times of the year, that activity is likely to have to change throughout the year as well. So in summertime, yes, outdoors, football, netball, you know, whatever. But in wintertime, when we need to rest more and we're repairing, maybe yoga and meditation, you know, start to look after the mental health as well. Which brings us on to the mental rest and activity, which is another influencing factor, another of the 6 lifestyle factors. Detox. That's one of the buzzwords, isn't it? Detox. How many times, particularly lemon and lime? Oh, I'm going to detox this week. We're not dieting anymore. That's like 1980s. We're detoxing. Of course, Hijama is one of the best detoxes. But what would you say is the ultimate detox? And we do it, you know, inshallah, every day. Sorry? Yeah, yeah, yeah. You know, and we're talking about health. We talk about the physical body. So let's just get a little bit basic for a moment. Yes, going to the bathroom is detoxing. I've treated people who you say, and how often do you open your bowels? And you say, well, you know, normal. I say, what is normal for you? Because again, we need to get to the individual. I don't know, every 3 or 4 days, maybe. Some people, maybe once a week. You know, and you think, actually that's because if you're eating, I know, frown. If you're eating 3 meals a day, all that is going on inside of you, and it's just storing. And worse than that, if all this waste matter is left in there, you start to reabsorb. So other than, apart from the issues of constipation and all the rest of it, you're actually poisoning the system by having that in there. So yes, ideally, the best detox would be to relieve yourself at least once a day. If you're eating 3 meals a day, you know, maybe go more often than once a day. But yes, that is your detox. So elimination and retention. So
Build up microplastics in the body can have an adverse effect on temperament or change the initial.
for sure, yes, because if you put microplastics in a more general term as in pollutants, then yes, because your body's going to send elements there to deal with that, which takes it away from others and creates inflammation and all the rest of it. So yeah. And again, can we not absorb microplastics? I don't know. Can we not absorb heavy metals? Probably not. Can we not absorb things like Roundup? Probably not these days. And this is why it's important that we control the things that we can control. You know, buy organic, sleep appropriately, engage in wholesome activities. Sleep and wakefulness. If we sleep better at the appropriate time, what should we be able to do? Perform better at the other times. And the same goes throughout the year as well. If we rest appropriately at the appropriate times, winding down in autumn, resting in winter, ready to spring forward and be active in summer. Who here feels like what I've just said, although, you know, quite rushed and short, feels like this is common sense? Who would like to introduce some of these elements into their life to make it easier and healthier? Of those people, who has tried? How easy is it?
It's quite easy.
Some things, yeah, in some ways. Yes. So I recommend people introduce a lifestyle changing element one at a time. Because we have so many outside influences, so many. You know, you can't not absorb the lighting, the heating, the stimulus from various screens, the traffic, the people, the chatter, all these things all affect you. The cravings. So if we introduce one thing at a time and perhaps do that for a week and then maybe add another one, then inshallah we can change things around gradually. Have we got 5 minutes for...
I think, yeah, we'll open the floor to open questions, inshallah. There's a hand gone up straight away. Go for it, sir.
Just this is all relatively new to me. Is there an ideal temperament, or is everybody trying to get to an ideal scenario?
So the ideal scenario would be balance within their own temperament. I would say that sanguine is the best because, you know, it works for me. But if we're all like that, you know, nothing, you know, other things wouldn't get done. There needs to be the balance within society as well.
What advice can we give to somebody who wants to study a lot of this, like further? Like, where do we start and where can we signpost us to?
Okay, I can only tell you what I did. I studied under Hakim Salim Khan in Leicester. That was a 3.5-year degree level course. So, yeah, I would say start there. It does have some online short courses as well as introductions. It has the book, The Golden Key to Discovering Yourself, which I contributed to as well. That's out there, so you could have a read through that. The Golden Key to Discovering Yourself.
There's also some courses run by Ustad Muhammad, who has also studied under Hakim Salim.
Yes.
He does a lot of workshops about knowing yourself. So he teaches the temperaments.
It is getting more and more popular, isn't it?
Yeah.
Alhamdulillah. Yes. Yeah, hopefully.
Can I ask a question quickly? You know, you said about mangoes. You just said about mangoes, and because I'm from Pakistan, and mangoes are in the hot season there.
Yeah.
Same as in Brazil as well. They're mostly hot season fruit.
Yeah.
Then you're saying they're hot in temperament as well.
Yes.
So how does that work? Because they're seasonal fruits.
Yes.
From my knife point of view, I would assume that they would be cooling in there. But then how does that work
Yeah.
in the body?
And again, relative. So if you're in Pakistan, so here, they come in here and they dried. So just imagine this is just white. I know it's difficult to do with all these scribblings. Okay. That's all white, and we've got that there. What's that? What would you describe that as? Just looking at it, just very simply, what is that? It's a red dot. What makes that a red dot? Sorry?
Because you use a red marker to make it so
White background.
Precisely. So it's not just what is there, it's also what isn't there. And that's what creates. So a mango here in a cold environment would be different to a mango in Pakistan in a warmer environment. The effects would be different, and quite likely the temperament of the person, the mizaj of the person, would be different as well. And this is where it becomes important that we understand ourselves. And rather than just reaching for something, asking ourselves, what do I need? Some days you'll be hungry than others, some days you'll be cooler than others, and you'll want different foods. What do I need? Yeah.
Sorry, my question is, I've got my mother hat on, so I'm thinking, children, as they approach adolescence, will their mizaj change?
Yes.
Wow.
Hello.
Yeah, here we cover like the main, the physical aspects. So what are the other aspects? So do they have like different weighting? Like is spirituality more or spiritual?
Yes. So in Tibb, but in traditional medicine overall, you've got the spiritual, mental, emotional, physical. If you talk in terms of hierarchy, spiritual is the highest, and the physical symptoms can quite often be manifested through spiritual, emotional or mental dis-ease as well. And that's when you're getting sort of deeper into it. And through consultation, you're also looking at somebody and asking questions to work out where they're at in those situations. And that's also why quite often when you can be treating the higher levels, mental, spiritual, emotional, that part of that healing process will manifest as physical symptoms as it comes out. And this is where sometimes patience is required. Hence the term patient, I suppose.
Inshallah, correctly.
Inshallah.
Beautiful.
Okay.
Anyone ask questions? No? Well, focus on it.
How
Sorry.
does the power nap, like in the sleep cycle,
Yeah.
like would you, like, because that's what I do, I've tried to be the morning person and I
Okay.
can't, but I do have a power nap. Is that good for...
After lunchtime, after lunchtime a little power nap is great.
Or after work?
Yeah, if it's working for an individual, great, but I would suggest, we try and get to the better sleeping at night, because there are other things that happen when we sleep at night. The body's repair processes, fluid coming up from the spine to cleanse the brain, cleanse the proteins and then and toxins, so you're not as prone to mental health issues, influencing factors, but
And you won't get that in a short sleep?
you wouldn't. That would only happen in that winter period of night. That's when the bulgum, the phlegm, the water within the body is most active, and it cleanses and starts to clear the way for repairing. It's very, very, you can't understate how amazing the human body is, alhamdulillah. It's designed to be well. It's just us that are messing it up. Is that it? Sorry.
Olive oil, coconut oil, is there any one oil that's better the cooking for the body, or is it?
So in terms of cooking, both of those have different temperatures that you are to cook to, that's smoking points, so you'd be better off looking at those. But going back to your earlier question, do you remember what I said about the... Yes. It depends who it's for, what we're treating. Yeah. Very much an individual.
Thank you very much, Ainsley. It's been a fascinating
Okay.
introductory, as it does say.
It is.